All right, look. Okay, I think it's about time that someone put some stability here, okay? Now, I'm hearing there's all this hoopla about all this UK fans versus the US fans rivalry pertaining to Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, okay? Now, let me just make this perfectly clear. I'm not going to take part in that, all right? Okay, in fact, I don't really believe in that because I believe at the end of the day, we're all boxing fans. We're all passionate for for our fighters. Okay, that's the norm. I get that, but at the same time, we need to maintain stability and respect here. Okay, I don't want to see friendships, or collaborative thinking amongst us in just based upon one particular fighter. Okay, so let me just say something here, okay? Some people are calling Anthony Joshua, a coward, coward, and some people call Deontay Wilder a coward, okay? Now, do I believe that Deontay Wilder is a coward? No. Do I believe Anthony Joshua is a coward? No. Did Deontay Wilder duck fights out of Luis Ortiz? Yes, he did. Okay, I came after Deontay for that. And did Anthony Joshua duck Luis Ortiz? Yes, he did. That's apparent at this point. Okay, so they'll have something in common. How many world champions that Deontay Wilder's beaten? 2 world champions. How many top 10 opponents has he beaten? 2. How many top 10 opponents has Anthony Joshua beaten? 3. How many world champions has Anthony Joshua beaten? 2. Okay, so yes, Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder's resumes are not that far apart from each other. Shout out to the brother Mex Ryder. He made an excellent video about this. Go check out his channel. In fact, I'll post a link to the video below so you guys can take a look at it. All right, but I will agree that Anthony Joshua is the more standout heavyweight than Deontay Wilder because he has the most signature win over Vladimir Klitschko, which is a fact. That is a fact. You cannot take that away from him. Yes, Vladimir Klitschko is coming off a loss. He's 41 years old. He was way past his best. And Anthony Joshua was the favorite to win that fight slightly. But at the same time, you cannot take away credit from Joshua. He got the signature win. He is now the guy in the heavyweight division. He is the cash cow. But nonetheless, he is a main target for all the other major heavyweights. So it comes with a huge price. It comes with a serious consequence. All right. Now, the win over Anthony Joshua over's win over Vladimir Klitschko does not make him as if that he's already a proven fighter. No, it doesn't. Okay. Yes, the win over Klitschko is a very significant win. It's a very good win. But Anthony Joshua still has some work to do. Okay, he's very young. He's still at the early stages of his career, and he's got to fight all the other top heavyweights, including Deontay Wilder, Luis Ortiz, Kubrat Pulev, Dillian White. Well, he already beat him, but definitely a rematch is warranted. Andy Ruiz, Joseph Parker. Yeah, I can name many of them. Okay, so he still has some work to do. He still has things to prove here. Deontay Wilder has a lot of things to prove as well. Yes, Deontay Wilder's, he's pretty much padded his resume up to the point that he fought Stavern. I get that argument. I've argued about that as well, okay? But at the same time, Deontay Wilder has a lot of work to do, okay? They both do, okay? They both have something to prove, okay? So that's why, as a collaborative offer, as over the last week, as I've engaged in many conversations with certain people about this, most people would agree that they all want to see this fight between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, with a few exceptions here, okay? Because those exceptions say that the fight's got to build up first. Well, I disagree with that notion because when Eddie Hearn has signed a multi-fight deal with Showtime here in the United States, Eddie Hearn has specifically stressed that the main purpose of them signing the deal with Showtime rather than HBO was to get that fight with Deontay Wilder. As soon as that deal was signed, a lot of videos were coming out reporting this, and they were all talking about Anthony Joshua and then Deontay Wilder fight being inevitable because that's the fight everyone wants to see at this point. Okay? So, I know both men are in a very, very difficult situation with these mandatories and whatnot, okay? Of course, Anthony Joshua is in a far worse situation. it all goes back to the Vladimir Klitschko situation. Not only that he had two mandatories, he also had the rematch situation that he had to honor with Vladimir Klitschko. And of course, Vladimir Klitschko took a very, very long time to make up his, to come up with a decision. Until now, yesterday or so, we find out that he announced that he retires. Okay. Now, soon after that, we would all assume that the IBF was going to go ahead and order the fight between Anthony Joshua and Kubrat Pulev, which we all expected because Eddie Hearn was making rounds before the Klitschko decision that they were going to go ahead and pursue that fight, just in case that Vladimir Klitschko opts not to take the rematch. Okay, fine and dandy. But nonetheless, WBA comes out and they said that they issued a rule that the fight between Anthony Joshua and Luis Ortiz must take place. Okay. And both parties must come up with an agreement at least 30 days from yesterday, or it's going to go to a purse bid. Of course, that raised up a lot of, a shitstorm with a lot of people because they don't want to see their champion Deontay Wilder stripped of, Anthony Joshua stripped of his title. Fair enough argument, okay? But it was also later learned, or we discovered, that Eddie Hearn or Anthony Joshua had already had prior knowledge that the WBA mandatory comes before the IBF. It seems like some of the Joshua fans are continuing to overlook that fact. In fact, I saw that interview with Eddie Hearn today, and he did address the WBA situation only to a certain degree, but he never addressed the fact that Jay Jimenez of the management of Luis Ortiz had came out and said that this was the case, that Eddie Hearn had knowledge of it, and so did Anthony Joshua, and they're trying to bypass Luis Ortiz. So yes, if they're adamantly doing that, and I don't think Anthony Joshua is scared of Luis Ortiz, let's make that clear. But it's very obvious that Eddie Hearn wants to take it easy with Joshua since now he is the biggest cash cow right now. Perhaps in boxing, let's be honest, he is. All right? Can't knock Anthony Joshua's success for it. All right? But the fact is that he wants to take it a step at a time. But you cannot negate the fact that he is avoiding Luis Ortiz. That's well evident. That's a fact. I know Eddie Hearn said, look, we're going to take on Pulev first, then Ortiz, and then Wilder. You know what? Eddie, I know because this is the reason why he said the reason why it has to be done, because the IBF had specifically said that no unifications takes place if, the rematch is not honored between Klitschko and Joshua, or if the rematch was going to take place. No unifications. But I will have to challenge Eddie Hearn on that because Julius Ndongo, after he had beaten Ricky Burns to capture a unified title, right? The IBF 2 days later had came out and issued a ruling that Julius Ndongo must face Sergey Lipinets next, okay? Because Lipinets is the mandatory challenger to the IBF title. No unifications must take place. But nonetheless, Ndongo's team had contacted the IBF. They had put in an exemption to get the fight pushed off and pursuing unification bout with Terrence Crawford. And guess who was involved in that exemption process? Eddie Hearn. So, there you go. So, I understand Eddie Hearn's sense that, the sanctioned bodies will not allow a unification bout because they said mandatories must be met before that can happen. I get that. But at the same time, Julius Ndongo not only had one championship fight, but he had a unification fight, and now he's going to another unification fight. So he's gotten 2 exemptions right now. He's gotten 2. So things can happen, guys, if these fighters really want the fights to happen. All right? That's the bottom line. All right? Now, the thing is that I don't want this issue to divide us, as we all, agreed that we all want the best to fight the best, okay? Now, here's my thing on this situation. I had a conversation offline with EJ and Ben Umar and B Marsh. And shout out to all the brothers, by the way. Chris Caban and who else is there? Yeah, all those guys, man. But B Marsh brought up a good point. And I should have stated this in my last video. This issue between Joshua and Wilder can all come to an end. Not come to an end. It can all be a done deal. We will no longer debate this. If Joshua and Wilder can get together, Eddie Hearn and Al Heyman with Lou DiBella, right? They can all get together. They can all draft an agreement where it stipulates that they will fight unless they could get 2 interim fights in between. And the reason why I say that is because of the complex situation that we're dealing with right now with these mandatories and the sanctioning bodies. Okay, so for example, Anthony Joshua, this is to you, and Eddie Hearn. I'm not sure if you guys are going to actually listen to this video. I understand your situation, and I know, Eddie, you said that the fight with Deontay Wilder is not going to take place right now. And of course, you took a shot at Deontay Wilder, which was pretty funny. I have to admit that Deontay Wilder makes call-outs knowing fights cannot happen, and he turned down a fight with Dillian White. But you know what? Like I said, I have an idea here. First, with you, Eddie and Anthony, or AJ, you guys should go ahead and pursue the WBA mandatory with Luis Ortiz. Okay? If you cannot get that fight done, cool. What you guys need to do next is that, if you can't get that fight done, if you can't get a deal, I'm sorry, let me take this back. Let me reword this. Approach Luis Ortiz, because he is doing his mandatory first before the IBF. Okay? What you guys need to do is go ahead and try to work out a step-aside agreement with Luis Ortiz to pursue her. Let's say, try to work out a deal with Luis Ortiz. If you refuse to step aside, then you need to take the mandatory challenger. You know what? Let me reword this again. This is what Wilder and Anthony Joshua should do. I'm going to talk to both parties here. What you guys need to do is this. Since mandatories should not be neglected, to some people, I would say this. You guys should get together, draft an agreement where both of you get 2 interim fights in between. Wilder gets Tavern out of the way, whether TV deal or not. Gets Tavern out the way. All right, get him out the way, and then Deontay, you take another interim fight in between. Why? Because that way Joshua can get his 2 mandatories out the way. So that way it makes it fair. So you guys get together, draft an agreement that you will fight each other next year until you. But first, you have to get your 2 interim fights out the way. That will solve the entire problem that we're dealing with right now if they do that. But apparently it doesn't seem like there's no signs of that happening. I know Eddie Hearn said that Deontay Wilder would be the last guy on the table. Would be the last guy they'll look at after they get these 2 mandatories out the way. You know what? Like I said, preferably I'd rather them get into unification bout now. But I'll be rational. I'll look at this from one perspective and say, you know what? That may not happen. Then what you should do, again, draft agreement with Deontay. Deontay, you and Lou DiBelli get on contact with Eddie Hearn. Whoever contacts each other first, get together, draft an agreement, and put it in the agreement that both of you guys get 2 interim fights before you eventually meet. Just like how Andre Ward and Sergey Kovalev did. Okay, this can be done. This can be worked out. And shout out to B Marsh once again for making that suggestion, because that's an excellent point that will all solve this problem right here. All right. So, yeah. So anyways, let me know what your thoughts about this. Do you agree with me that what I made, agree with my suggestion, or B Marsh's suggestion? I don't want to steal any thunder from him. Do you agree with that suggestion that I just laid out, the proposal? Better yet, again, I have to repeat myself. I don't want this UK and the US thing divide us. All right. I understand this is boxing. We're gonna be very passionate about the fighters that we look up to, that we revere so much. But the fact is, we can all agree at the end of the day that we all want the best to fight the best. Plain and simple. Okay. So yeah. Oh yeah, one more comment. Somebody had addressed me in the comment section where someone accused me for not calling out Deontay Wilder for certain things. I was like, well, to this commenter, because he left a comment, I didn't have the time to respond to him by a written reply. To the commenter who made that assertion, he hasn't watched my channel for a very long time for making that statement. Because if you watch my channel, I've been very critical of Deontay Wilder more than I've praised him. Okay. On this channel, I hold every fighter to the same standard, okay? When I say Deontay Wilder ducked Luis Ortiz, that did happen. He did duck Luis Ortiz. I pointed that out. When Anthony Joshua is ducking Luis Ortiz, which is happening, yes, he is ducking Luis Ortiz. That's very evident, okay? So I will hold those fighters to the same standards. I don't care who it is. I'm a fan of the sport before I'm a fan of any fighter. That's the bottom line, okay? In fact, I like both of these guys. They're both my favorite fighters in the heavyweight division. It's just sad that this situation is is attempting to divide us. And I implore you, brothers, to please don't let this divide us. That's all I gotta say. I'm out.